What's up guys, it's Average Joel making average content for the average viewer, and today I'm back with another Elden Ring video bringing you guys 14 Elden Ring tips for new players. Now, I've given you 14 because I'm sure that some of you might already know some of these. However, by giving you more tips, I increase the chance of you finding at least one of them useful. A bit like sending unsolicited dick pics. If you send enough of them, eventually you'll find your future wife. But in all seriousness, the tips in this video are going to range from things that I actually think are extremely good tips and extremely helpful, whether you're a new player or a Souls veteran, and also some simple tips that, to be honest, it's taken me like 18 hours to work out some of them, and by God, do I feel stupid, so I thought I'd save you that embarrassment. But before we go too far into the video, I do just want to say that if you are enjoying my Elden Ring content, then subscribing to this channel would absolutely make my day. And if you enjoy this video in particular, then maybe consider dropping a like. But with that out of the way, let's get straight on to the tips. The first tip that I want to give you is from another YouTuber, a much bigger YouTuber, and probably a better Souls player than I ever will be, and that is Extra Life, with an F at the beginning. Not quite sure how to say your name, dude. And he basically has made an interactive map over on the wiki, and this thing is so incredibly useful. If you're used to playing more traditional open world games, then this will be really familiar to you. It basically lists every single location, all of the armor, the ashes of war, the bosses, the consumables, the flask upgrades, the keys, locations, maps, materials, NPCs, NPC invaders, shields, sites of grace, spells, spirit ashes, talismans, upgrade materials, waypoints, weapons. Literally everything in the game is on this interactive map, and I'll leave a link to that down in the description. Now, obviously I wouldn't suggest that you literally only use this map, because you will be doing yourself out of exploring this vast open world and playing the game it's meant to be played. However, if you are searching for something, or if you're a little bit stuck and a little bit lost on what to do, then this is a great resource to help poke you in the right direction. Next, we have a little tip, and this is that you can two-hand weapons or dual wield them. I know this one sounds obvious, but a lot of people still don't know how to do this. Now, for certain weapons like the Uchi-Katana or other large swords, you'll be able to two-hand these weapons by pressing Y or triangle and then RB or R1 if the weapon is in your right hand. What this means is you'll be able to do a lot more damage because you'll be using strength from both of your arms, meaning that every swing you make with this blade will now do a lot more damage to your opponents. Similarly, if you're using a smaller blade, or like these rad weird Wolverine claws that I found, you'll be able to dual wield these, making your attacks hit twice as fast because you'll be able to hit with both of your hands. Just bear in mind that when dual wielding or using two hands on a weapon, you won't be able to use a shield, which can leave you quite vulnerable to attack. Number 3, on horseback, strong attacks drag your weapon along the floor, giving you an active hitbox for a few seconds. This means that you'll be able to drag your sword along the floor into a group of enemies and hurt a few of them at a time, meaning that if you're exploring the world and you see a big group of enemies, you'll be able to thin the herd in quite an efficient manner just by doing a few strafes with this. Whilst you're dragging your weapon, if it hits these enemies, it will hurt them quite a bit, and then the enemy that is at the end of your stroke will get the main brunt of the charged heavy attack. This works differently with different weapons. For example, if you're using the twin blade, you do this wicked sort of twirly animation as you're running, so make sure you do this if you're attacking multiple enemies whilst on horseback. Okay, number 4, you can hold down on the D-pad to get your health flask instantly. So many times I've been playing this game and I'm fumbling with the D-pad trying to get my heals up, and then I take one foul swoop to the head and I'm dead. I didn't know that all you had to do was hold down on the D-pad and it will go immediately to the first item that you have selected. You could select this as anything, but obviously the best thing that you can do is have your flask selected first, so that whenever you're trying to fight an enemy and you need to get your heals off quickly, all you have to do is hold down on the D-pad and you'll be able to go straight back to your healing flasks without taking any unnecessary damage. Number 5 is another horse tip, and this is that the horse double jump actually makes you turn on a dime. You can literally do a 90-degree turn whilst using the horse double jump. This is amazing for juking other enemies that are also on horseback, but also if you want to drop down to an area like a secret area that is directly below you, you can jump off of a cliff and then immediately 180 with the double jump and get into those secret areas. A very useful tip to know indeed. Number 6, before fighting Margit, you really need to make sure that you've upgraded your weapon and you've upgraded your ashes Ashes of War at the round table hold. I'm seeing a lot of people online that are just fucking going straight for Margit and getting their ass handed to them, and then coming into my comment section and saying, oh, this game's too fucking hard, mate. It's shit. It's not shit. You've just perhaps missed the point of exploring the open world, which is fine. It's not like this game tells you exactly what to do, but I would really suggest exploring the world, leveling up a bit, and then making sure you unlock the round table hold so that you can then upgrade your weapon and your Ashes of War, which will make this fight so much easier. Number 7, know when a shield is useful. Now, if you followed my first tip and you're using sort of dual wield weapons, or perhaps you're using a weapon with 2 hands, this means that you won't be able to use a shield. However, there's a few mobs in this game, like these gargoyles that you find in catacombs, that do have quite a fast attack, and if you get ganged up on by more than one of them, if you don't have a shield to block these attacks, you really can get caught with your pants down and they can finish you off relatively quickly. By using the shield, if you just block one of their attacks, a lot of the time it will stagger them. This means that you can follow this up with some free hits using RB, which should finish these enemies off with ease. Number 8 is pay attention to weapon scaling. S is the best and A through F get respectively worse. This means that if you're piling loads and loads of points into dexterity and your weapon scales at like B with dexterity, then that weapon is going to hit a lot harder. Similarly, if you've piled all of your attributes into dexterity but the weapon scales best with strength, then you might not be getting the full potential out of this weapon. So just bear that in mind when you start using a new weapon, and if you find a weapon that you really like, maybe consider pumping some attribute points into the respective skill that you need that scales best with that weapon. Number 9, summoning ashes and other spirits isn't cheating for bosses, it's in the game, so bloody use it. I know that there are going to be a lot of purists who want to beat the game without any help, but these are mechanics within the game. There are upgradable things, for Christ's sake. If you have the wolves, for example, and you upgrade them, well, this is something that you've spent your time doing. This is something that you've earned, so you should be able to use it in boss fights. I understand if you don't want to use it in boss fights because you want the feeling of doing it yourself, but these will make the boss fights so much easier, so don't be afraid to use them because it will make your time playing this game that much more fun. Number 10, explore hard areas on horseback to get some sneaky high level items. Now, in the beginning of the game, I'm sure a lot of you have found this. If you go to like the Dragon Ruins, there is a chest down there which is a trap, and it will send you like halfway across the map into an area where near the beginning of the game, as soon as one of these enemies touches you, you will crumple and fold like a piece of paper. But this does lend itself to quite a unique opportunity. If you manage to escape this trap and escape this cave, you'll find yourself at the entrance of the cave in a very high level area, meaning that if you hop on torrent, you should be able to just skirt around, maybe pick up some map fragments, and you'll be able to find lots of high tier loot that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get until you're much further in the game. This isn't cheating, it's not an exploit, they've sent you to this place, so you might as well make the most of it. That is providing you get out of the cave in the first place, because these guys are scary as fuck. Number 11, and I just want to talk briefly about iframes. Now, if you've played any of the Souls games before, if you've played Bloodborne or Sekiro, you'll know what iframes are. However, if you're new to this type of game and you're new to the franchise, then you need to know what iframes are, and they are invisibility frames. And you get these in a few different ways. For example, you get them when you get off of your horse or back on your horse, and what this means is whilst that animation is playing, you are invulnerable to attacks. This is extremely useful for when you're fighting big enemies in the open world, such as the dragons or these massive troll motherfuckers. And if you time it correctly, when you get back on your horse, if you do it as they're attacking you, they will completely miss the attack and you'll be able to get away without taking any damage at all. This is also how rolling works, and if you time your rolls at the right time facing any foe, then you'll be able to negate all of the damage. And also, if you roll towards an enemy as they're attacking you, you'll be in prime position to get some cheeky little stabs in whilst they're recharging their next attack. Number 12 is that tutorial info can be found in your inventory. I know myself accidentally skip a lot of the tutorial stuff as it pops up. I'm so used to just spamming Y as soon as something is blocking my vision on screen that a lot of the times I miss what the game is telling me. But do not fear, you can access all of these little tidbits as they come up in your inventory. Okay, so number 13, you're never stuck, just don't be afraid to backtrack. There have been a few times in my playthrough of this game where I've got to a point where I feel like I've hit a brick wall. I can't go forward forwards because the enemies are too hard and I feel like I've searched absolutely everywhere behind me. But I can almost guarantee that 95% of the time there is a catacomb, a cave, a boss in the open world that you haven't fought. Just bear in mind that there are extra bosses in the world when it changes to nighttime, for example, so there's always going to be something for you to do so that you can level up and then come back to the place where you're stuck. Just don't think that you have hit a brick wall and there's nothing you can do, so you just quit the game. There is always an easier way out, and a lot of the time you might not even have to face the hard enemies that are dead in front of you. And finally, number 14, and this is a tip that I didn't think I was going to have to give, but so many people have been asking me this in my comments, and that is, you can sprint. Duh. If you hold B or circle, depending on which platform you're playing on, you'll be able to sprint around the open world or sprint away from enemies. This is especially useful in some of the places like the catacombs, where there'll be fire shooting out of statues down corridors, and there is no way you'll be able to make it to the next safe point unless you sprint. Look, I'll admit, I didn't know you could sprint either in the first couple of hours, and it wasn't until I watched another video that I realised that you could. So there you have it, you can sprint. And there we have it, my 14 Elden Ring tips and tricks for new players and beginners. I really hope that you at least found one of these interesting. Now, for those of you who have watched my videos for a while, you'll know that I love to see who sticks around until the end. So if you're still here, I'd like you to let me know by answering this question down in the comments. If you had to live inside of any video game, which video game would you live in? Anyway, that's it from me today. I'm Average Joel. Peace.